Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today I wanted to dive into the brand Catrice. This is a lower cost brand in at Ulta. This brand actually started out back in 2004 in Germany, and I think it was 2015 when they came to the States. Their home office is now in New York. It looks like most of the products I have are made in Italy, although, okay, there's a few exceptions. One's made in Poland, got another one here made in France. But yeah, they are a brand that has definitely had some gems that I have tried over time. I remember a certain buzz around this brand before it actually came to Ulta, and as I was doing a little research on their website, they came right out and said that face products are their forte, you know, the complexion, foundation, concealer, primers, etc. And I thought that was interesting because we don't really hear brands push that necessarily. We all may have our opinions about what we think a certain brand does best, but I don't feel like many of them come right out and say, this is what we do best. I think they want us to think they do everything amazingly well, but I thought it was interesting that they really pointed to the complexion products as their main thing and the thing that they feel they do the best. One of my favorite products, actually what led me to want to try a little more from the brand, learn a little bit more about them. I absolutely love this HD Liquid Coverage Foundation. I've gotten back into using it a little bit lately as I feel like I've kind of struggled staying power-wise lately. It's just been real hot. I've been outside a lot, and I've been wanting something that didn't feel real weighty on the skin but could last through maybe a little oiliness, a little sweat. Even though I'm a normal to dry skin type, this kind of weather will bring that out in a person. So I've been loving this. I think it's an absolutely top-notch, super high-quality product. Another thing that I have loved for quite a while and majorly recommended from Catrice has been this California in a box, and I'll use some portions of that in today's look, but this is an amazing all-in-one face palette, multitasker, just grab and go. You've got what you need. But recently I was doing a little Ulta haul and I grabbed a few other things that I hadn't yet used. So we're gonna dive into all this right now. I'm gonna make it a full face as much as I can. I do not have a mascara, and I actually don't have a lip product. On Ulta's website they had like one, I think it may have been a liquid lipstick, and all they had was like blue and purple. I don't know what the deal was there. Maybe they're flat out trying to get rid of whatever they've done lip-wise, start something new, who knows? But we're gonna start off with the 1 Minute Face Perfector. I've had this one for a little while. I do really like what this does for the skin. They say Moussey Face Perfector ensures flawless mattified complexion and natural makeup finish, and it claims to be kind of a pore erasing product, and it really is the kind of texture that feels like, I don't know, if you were just dipping into frosting or something. You do have stiff peaks in there for my baking friends, and it has kind of a skin tone shade. You know, I always question when products call themselves perfectors, because I'm like, well, it's not really perfecting everything. You know, it might be helping my complexion in some way, but why do we call products that don't have real actual coverage perfectors? But I've taken this around my nose and I swear it does do a number on the pores, you guys. The color of this just kind of disappears into my skin. If anybody was wondering if that would make a real difference, I don't think it does. But it's really like silky smooth. I definitely enjoy this as a primer. It's kind of doing for me what the Hard Candy Smoothing Primer Balm does, but just an even creamier consistency. But whatever your preference, I feel like they both do a very similar thing for the skin, and they're really good about making those pores just look invisible. This next thing, you guys, we're gonna be experimenting with this one together. This is the Liquid Camouflage Under Eye Primer, okay? So this is just a transparent product, and they say it's going to be the ideal base for concealer. It'll reduce the look of lines and perfects the under eye concealer application. So I'm going to lightly apply a little bit of this. The reviews on this, there were actually some really good reviews. They were talking about the way this helped the look of their concealer throughout the day. Somebody specifically said, like, it won't create more coverage out of your concealer, obviously, but if you're one who tends to get a chalky, dry look from your concealer as you wear it, this helps prevent that. They also mentioned that after it sits there for a little bit, it almost feels as though it has set somewhat. It's definitely smooth. I can feel, you know, a little added moisture to that area, but it doesn't feel super goopy and sticky. Glycerin then followed by water. Those are the top two ingredients in this product. So it's definitely trying to add a little extra moisture to that under eye area. Also, do you guys like my little headband here? I got a pack of a whole bunch of different colored headbands from Amazon. They're actually wired so you can move the little ends around. How fun is that? I'm gonna move on to the liquid coverage foundation. I love this stuff. I wear it in sand beige, and they say it lasts up to 24 hours. I know I haven't specifically tested that claim. There's very few foundations that have gotten that test from me. It says mattifying, second skin effect. It's just fantastic. I have worn this product quite a bit. It never disappoints. Anytime I pull it out after not using it for a while, I'm like, yes, okay, I remember why I love this product so much. It's the thinness, yet the coverage capability, and it gives you a really perfected mattified look without being too heavy, because again, it's so thin. It's kind of like a water weight type product here. So you've got your dropper. I'm gonna drop, whoa, it just came tumbling down. Okay, whatevs. Get a little bit around here. No big deal, just a bit of an explosion there onto the face. I'm gonna use my Real Techniques Expert face brush, and I kind of dip into where I've dropped the stuff and sort of help it spread around a little bit. And then just start your blending. I think you'll find it blends super duper easily. You could work this in with a sponge if you wanted to. I just feel like a brush, a dense brush that is, kind of tends to maximize coverage of any thin foundation product. I think of sponges a little bit more with the thicker foundations that could stand to be broken down just a little bit onto the skin, you know what I mean? I feel like this is working hand in hand with that pore primer so nicely. Really just not experiencing the look of any pores around the nose area. Just nice coverage everywhere, but like I said, really thin, not leaving a sticky residue across the skin. I don't feel like my skin has completely lost all radiance. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at the skin-like sheen that I still do have as I see my forehead, you know, across the planes of my face. I just don't feel terribly flat, but yet in some odd way, I'm still mattified. So we're gonna move on to concealer now. This is one that, somebody tell me why this is not on Ulta's website anymore. This one is fantastic. It's the one drop coverage weightless concealer. I have it in the shade Porcelain. This is an absolutely exceptional product. It's not on Ulta's website anymore. If anybody from Catrice is watching, like, do you know how good this is? Like, it literally does only take a drop. Like, if I were gonna conceal my under eye area, I would put one drop there, and then I might put one drop on the melasma. It's literally one drop per the problem area that you're working with, and it really spreads amazingly well, feels super light. This is available on Catrice's website, so it's not like you can't get your hands on this. Maybe they're making some kind of update to the product, I don't know, but if you love this for its thinness, you will so appreciate this concealer for getting all up in those areas where we don't necessarily like a lot of thick product, right? So maybe your question is, well, what concealer is available through this line at Ulta? So this is what I got my hands on, and we're gonna play with this today for the first time. The Slimmatic Camouflage Stick, high coverage, water and sweat proof. It's only 0.03 ounces, my friends. This is a fraction of the amount of product you may be getting with other stick concealers, and I'm just like, what? This is tiny. It's really tiny. How much did I pay for this? Okay, I have it in the shade Fair Ivory. There's 10 shade options, and it looks like it was $7. And the stick is just so slim and tiny, but they make it seem like it's a real pigmented product. High covering stick for a precise application, water and sweat proof, long lasting. They say it has jojoba oil and vitamin E. The reviews on this, my friends, are not good. There are like 5 reviews on Ulta's website, and they're all complaining about the coverage. So I'm really curious. I really want to try it today and just see how it goes. Okay. Glides on very smooth. It does not feel like a drying stick concealer at all. And since my shade seems to be like a little bit lighter, I think it's going to be a good highlighting type color. I'm really fascinated by how they made it so small though, or why they made it so small. Using my little Real Techniques brush. This is actually a highlighting brush that I like to use for concealer. I'm kind of just dabbing over the product. We're going to try to maximize any coverage we can get out of this. Does anybody feel like the standards for concealer have gone way up since we've been through, or kind of in currently, I guess, the Shape Tape era? You know, not only have we had Shape Tape, but we've had many brands like step up their concealer game to match Shape Tape, both in the high-end price range and drugstore price range. So I think we look at concealers, all of us do, I know I do, and I do expect a lot. Here's what we're working with. I can still see some under eye darkness right in there. It could be that my shade is just a little, you know, light for me. Sometimes you need to be just a little bit more of a true match to conceal the best, especially if it's not necessarily the fullest coverage concealer. I don't know, I don't hate it. It doesn't feel super drying or anything. I think I will build up what's going on right in here in the deepest part. Yeah, that's helping a little bit. It is buildable. But it's like, how much do you want to go building with that tiny stick that you're probably going to run out of real quick? I don't quite understand the sizing, but I don't hate the concealer. I really don't. This would have done better, but that's not my focus today because that's just not what they had available. Another new thing they have here is this HD Baking and Setting Loose Powder. Actually, I'm not positive that it's new to everyone, but it's new to me. They call it Mattifying, Water Resistant, Second Skin Effect. Water resistant, I mean, can that also mean sweat resistant? Because I'm not necessarily trying to dive in my pool with a full face of makeup, but I would like it if I could wear it outside and, you know, work up a little sweat and everything would still stay. Now the cap twists off and then there's a stopper. Last night I took out the stopper and I got powder all over myself because there's nothing really taping off the product from going ahead and flowing out of the container. It's got one of those trampolini kind of mesh materials going across the product. I'm scared to tip it too far, but basically that's not a stopper at all. Like everything can come out of that, and this is a very fine powder. It looks very matte. Definitely don't throw that thing away, but removing that in itself, I feel you have to do so very gingerly because a lot can come out. So I'm getting a little bit of this powder on my e.l.f. small tapered brush, and I feel like while I may have looked matte on the under eye, I feel like there's still plenty of moisture there, and it's an area that I'm gonna wanna set. See what it does for the nose. Yeah, matte just became matter. We're getting all up in the T-zone with this. Ultra matte translucent setting powder. I didn't go all over the sides of my face. I've got yet another powder that I want to try, but I'm just not a huge fan of this mechanism. Putting that mesh thing in there where everything just pretty much free flows out of it anyway. It's like, why is it even there? And yeah, I had a big mess on myself last night. I actually just stepped outside and started trying to dust off my pants. It was not cute. The other powder that I have here, and I think it was only available in the one shade, is this Prime and Fine Luminizing powder. This says Radiant Beige, silky waterproof powder with soft focus effect and very fine light reflecting pigments. So if you look at this, it kind of has, you know, just a gently peachy look to the powder. And then I swatch it out on my skin, and I can kind of see that there may be a hint of a little sheen to this. Honestly, kind of hard to tell, but I'm going to apply this sort of all over the rest of my face. Basically, I'm just going to avoid the under eye area. I don't know, does anything look more luminous to you? I don't really think so, frankly. This may be a good performing setting powder, but I'm not really seeing any more luminosity out of my skin after putting that on. For bronzer, I'm going to go into my California in a Box palette. This is one of my favorite things from Catrice. You've got a couple of different like bronzer or contour shades, both in different tones, one a little deeper than the other. I'm going to go into the lighter one today and just kind of start getting that worked around the hairline. There's two blushes in there as well in two different tones, which I love, and a beautiful highlight. And you're getting tons of product. They're great on the eyes as well if you want to turn them into an easy little eye look. So I would highly recommend that if you're looking for a nice little face multitasker. You know, I love a multitasking product. Give myself a little contour. And the textures of these powders are so very nice. Smooth, pigmented, easy to blend. A very high-end feel with these complexion products. I do kind of get some of the frustration behind that concealer with A, it being so tiny, like even tinier than you can imagine, judging by the website, and B, the coverage wasn't incredible. But the primer was actually quite nice. You know, the setting powder, it did its job if you want a real matte setting powder. I can only imagine what that would be like to bake with. I'm applying just a little bit more of the deeper of the two shades now. Only takes a tiny bit. I'm literally just tapping my brush in. And for blush, I did grab a new one off the website. This is Blush Box Water and Sweat Proof. Ooh, we got a sweat proof claim. And this is in the shade Berry here. It just looks like a matte pink blush. You might say, isn't that kind of close to the pink that's in the California in a Box? And I feel like this is a little cooler, don't you think, than that pink right there. So let's try it out. Let's see if we like it. Just like the blushes in the palette, you tap in, you will get an effect. It's really nicely pigmented. I like that shade. I could see a lot of people liking that shade. It's a really fresh pink with a little bit of depth to it. You know, they call it berry. And then since I don't have a different highlight, I will just use the one that's in this palette, which is actually gorgeous. Makes a great eyeshadow if you want to use it that way. Just sweep it on. Can this look use some radiance or what? I mean, we were feeling very matte after these various powders that we used. And again, I didn't really feel like this luminizing powder was very luminizing at all. I mean, it has a tone about it that keeps it from looking real chalky, you know, because it had a little depth and a little bit of a beigey peachiness almost, but it's just very hard to pick up on the luminosity. I'm going to let this come all up in this area, and we'll also give ourselves a little Cupid's bow highlight too. Now I'm kicking myself because I used to have, and I thought I did still have a little bit of it, but I must have been pretty close to empty, the Prime and Fine Multi-Talent Fixing Spray. That's what it was called. My friend Erica gave me that. Really enjoyed that setting spray. I thought it did great things for staying power. But next we're going to try our hand at a brow product here that is new to me. It's called the Brow Pen Pro Super Proof. It says it's a long-lasting waxy eyebrow pen for perfectly filled and defined eyebrows, gym and waterproof. They're seeming to know that even though people go to the gym, they may want to keep a brow on their face. I have it in ash brown, and we're talking about kind of a teardrop shape here. Don't know if you can hone in on that, but it's definitely formed. And then at the other end, we're seeing a little dense actual, you know, hair brush here. NYX did this recently as well. Something that's got way more like fine hairs, but much more density, you know, than a spoolie to brush things through. So let's see how this goes. I feel like I tend to really like to work off of the tip of a little product like this, and then sometimes it wears down to where, you know, I'll no longer keep that special shape anymore. The color is transferring off pretty easy with pretty light pressure. It's kind of feeling pretty soft actually as I continue to go through the brows, and now I'm using this little brush, and I think it is helping move the product pretty well. I'm kind of feeling like I over-applied, and I think it's real easy to do with these products that have such a shape to them. And now I've completely worn the tip down, and I just look like I've got kind of a stump here to work with. Whatever point this product once had is no longer there. But I don't know, I guess people who really wanted a precise fill-in would have bought something more along the lines of a Brow Wiz or any of those fine pencils that all the brands are making these days. If you go for a thicker one or a shaped one, you run the risk of losing that shape. I don't know, gang, I'm not loving it. I just feel like I have to be very, very careful not to over-apply, and I'm lacking precision. But that little brush there is kind of nice. What this doesn't end up giving you a lot of is a feeling of hold, so I'm going to take some gel. It's just my little e.l.f. I pulled out. I'm going through it. We'll lay that down. Hopefully they stay in place all day. Now, very exciting, you guys, we do have an eyeshadow palette to use, so I'm going to go ahead and prime my lids. I don't know that I specifically looked for an eyeshadow primer from this brand, but we're just using Milani today. And I really like to start out using my Milani eyeshadow primer if I've got a new to me kind of product, just because I know it's got the best chance of working paired with Milani eyeshadow primer. Like if you've got a new kid in your class, Milani eyeshadow primer is the kid who's already in your class that you can count on to like go be a good friend to someone, you know? Like, hey, you're nice, go play with the new kid. Catrice has several different eyeshadow palettes. I have never tried a Catrice eyeshadow. I've used face products as eyeshadows, but with the exception of like some maybe little singles that I'd been kindly sent from some viewers overseas years ago, I haven't tried any of their like new palettes that are being sold on Ulta. So I went for this one. I don't like the concept of when people refer to themselves as basic. I also do not especially like the word bae, but yet here I am with this palette that seems to be covered with pumpkin spice lattes, which I am pro pumpkin spice latte. Actually, I'm more so on the side of make it in your own dang Keurig because it can be done at home for way cheaper. But yeah, guys, this is the palette, and I kind of thought, you know, this may be the kind of color scheme that a lot of my viewers would be into. And as I was swatching these last night, I was so impressed. One thing that impressed me is that Catrice seemed to pull back the reins. They stopped on the temptation of taking one of these shades and turning it into a flaky, dusty cloud of mess, you know? Brands feel like they've got to wow us with a texture in there that like we've never seen before, or that's going to draw us in, and it's going to swatch beautifully, but it's going to be a pain in the butt on the eyes, you know? Milani, I'm kind of looking at you because you tend to do this. But this palette, the shimmers are smooth. None of them seem over the top. I mean, there might be some that have a little bit more of a metallic tendency, but they are incredibly smooth. The mattes seem very pigmented. I've got high hopes for the way this is going to blend out and look on the eyes. In terms of overall tone, do we have some warmth in here? Absolutely. We have a gold. We have kind of a warm brown down in here, but we also have, you know, some taupes, some kind of bronzy browns that are just really a little bit on the cooler side. So yeah, I'm very excited to dive into this one. First, I'm going to go into MOTD right here. By the way, all these shade names have a hashtag in front of them because I don't know, basic bae. Ugh. There is a lovely little mirror right here, which I appreciate. And I am just getting that shade all up in the crease. This is kind of the warmest brown. So this is as warm as it gets, what you see happening in my crease right now. Gosh, I love doing makeup. I mean, do you ever get that feeling where you're in it and you're just like, gosh, this is a great start to the day. Sometimes I wish I could do my makeup like several times over within a day, just so I could play more and do more. And sometimes I do, you know, if I have the chance, I'll come up here, especially on a weekend, you know, you got all the kids napping and it's like, okay, what can I pull out here and have fun with? It's like, if you're excited about makeup, how is it hard to get out of bed in the morning? I just want you to know I'm having a blast up here. I hope you're having fun too. We've got that matte all nicely blended there. I used my Profusion Firm Blending ES2 brush. Let's see if we can stick with Profusion for a few steps here. Now I'm taking the ES3, which is just a little fuller, not quite so shaped, and kind of blending over that edge. Next up, I'm going to take hashtag Squad, little peachy, and just let that completely blend out the edge to where you can't really see where the color stops and starts. Love that. Oh man, that makes it look so buffed out. Easy gradient, you guys, going between this and this, this and this. And the textures, by the way, if you're wondering like what happens when you stick your brush in, I'm not seeing any fallout. I might tap off a tiny bit of excess when I go like that. I see just a little bit come off, but they're not flaky at all. Next, let's see what happens when we deepen up the crease. Let's go into MCM. We're putting product right on the tip of the brush so we can have a little more control and get that right into the outside. Very nice. Nice, rich, chocolatey brown. But then we have yet a cooler, deeper brown that's in the corner of the palette right there. I could definitely do my brows with that darkest shade if I wanted to. Who else loves blending matte into matte? So fun. I just think Catrice really has a great pressed powder texture. I mean, you look across their bronzers and the highlight and the blush that's in the California in a Box palette, you know, everything's very consistent, very good about being not too flaky, just the right pigmentation to make you feel like impressed by the color payoff, but not completely fearing the product on your face, you know? And I feel the same way about these eyeshadows. Beautiful blending there, not a lot of effort taken to get to that point. I would now like to take the dark brown TBT and get just a little bit of that on my brush, just because I want to see, you know, how dark and intense is it? Is it really like what you see is what you get? And I believe that it is. Patting that on the outer part of my lid here. Definitely the color that can turn the tide of your eye look and make it a little smokier, make it a little cooler. If you wanted to keep it a cool look, you know, you could really use that shade and pair that in with some of these cooler taupey bronzes. But one thing I should point out is that in terms of mid-tones, like what you're gonna throw into the crease to start the look, like those are kind of a little bit on the warm side. But as I've said many times, this shade could go in the crease, even if they've got a little shimmer, you know, either of these shades, they could be crease colors too. Just because they have a little sheen doesn't mean they can't, you know, be worked in that manner. Okay, so that's on outer part of the lid, kind of up into the crease, so I'll take that initial crease brush that we used and just make sure everything's blending together up in there. Really basic, but really pretty. The other night I swatched this shade called Wifey up here, and it looks like a satin finish, and it seems so pretty. Like just a gorgeous level of sheen there. In fact, just try and stop me from using this as a highlight right now. We've got to get a little bit on this. I mean, I already had a little highlight on, but oh, it's just pearlescent. So I want to work that in. Here's what I'll do. I'll use it kind of around the inner corner. We'll take one of these shades that's maybe a little bit down a notch. We'll take No Filter over here. What's this shade all about? Looks like a really, ooh, kind of dusty gold. The least brassy gold you've ever seen. Kind of a champagne and gold mixed. Beautiful. If you are fed up with shimmer textures that are fussy and hard to put on, these are so smooth. Easy, easy, easy. Really enjoying that. Now I'm wanting to take this Wifey shade that I was just using as highlight and let that kind of dab around your innermost corner for brightening. Does this eye look like it didn't quite get as dark as that eye in the outer corner? Let me tell you guys, the pigmentation, the texture, the ease of application, no fallout. It's the people who value those kinds of qualities in an eyeshadow who may also really like this super basic, easy, everyday color scheme. We can get past the fact that they called it Basic Bay. And I'm just grabbing a pencil brush here and I'm using MCM. Just give me a little brownie definition underneath. It's like, I don't care if this is the most basic look ever. I think it's beautiful, and I loved working with these colors. Ah, big fan. Big, big fan, making me want to look into what else they're making in terms of eyeshadow. And now I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go ahead and do my mascara. I will find a lip product and I'll be back. All right, guys, I am back. And as I try to do, if I'm doing kind of a brand focused video and it's a drugstore brand and I don't have a certain Tropical Depression 13 forms and Florida's in the cone. Thinking about my people in Florida. I feel somehow obligated to share my Weather Channel updates as they come in on my phone. But what I was saying was, like, if I'm doing a focused in video on one brand and I don't have something, I try to keep anything I might need to add in. Try to make sure those things are still drugstore price range. So I did use my Essence Lash Princess Fall/Effect mascara for a nice little lash there. And then on my lips, I'm wearing my Revlon. This is the Melting Glass Shine. And this is in the shade called Glaring Coral. That's what that looks like in the tube. I love it. I feel like it's kind of a soft, like the ultra softest red. Really shiny, just a tone that I love so much. So that is my look today, you guys. And let's review. Let's review how all the different things went. As I've been using them, I've been dividing them off into two pretty distinct stacks. Now, one thing, let's not forget to talk about this, the One Drop Coverage Weightless Concealer. If you see this come back on Ulta's website, you should probably just get it, okay? Great product. Maybe they're just working on putting out more shades or something like that. I mean, it's a brilliant formula, and if it does come back and you like thin, lightweight concealer that still packs an incredible punch for coverage, that's great. Other things I love, the HD Liquid Coverage Foundation. Again, for my matte people who like it matte but want it thin, want it long wear. I mean, I have no question about the way that foundation's gonna wear today. One thing I will be keeping an eye on is how this under eye primer goes. That's not a real clear hit or miss just yet, but it's definitely something I'm gonna keep using and playing with. I like the 1 Minute Face Perfector. Of course, my battery light's flashing. Love the blush and these face products here. Was super impressed by the eyeshadows. Things I did not love were the packaging style of this loose powder, this luminizing powder I didn't think was very luminizing. The concealer, okay, not terrible, not great. And the brow pen, not something I'm gonna love using a lot in the future. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look. I hope you learned a thing or two about the brand, and I'll see you soon. Bye.